Today we have a guest. His name is Delvon. I am so excited about this conversation. What we are going to talk about today is, first of all, One Love, the movie that just came out about Bob Marley. I went to watch it yesterday and I loved it. Delvon watched it as well. But the most amazing thing is that Delvon actually knew Bob. He is a musician, right now an author as well. But first of all, a musician. He has a Jamaican background, but he lives in America. So he's both Jamaican and American, born in Jamaica. Delvon, would you like to introduce yourself again? Maybe tell a little bit more, say a bit more about yourself. What would you like to say that you believe is important that I've not mentioned? Before we talk
No,
about One
well,
Love and before we talk about Bob and some of the things that connect the two of you and
I think you hit the nail on the head. I was not only myself, but just me and others, like other musicians. We're friends with Bob, and we normally hang out at Tough Gong when nothing is going on. We just lime. You understand what lime is? We just hang
yeah.
out, chat stupidness. Yeah, yeah, fist fight. You
So
name
so
it.
listen, so how old were you and how old was Bob when you guys met?
Okay, so I joined the Army, Jamaica Defense Force in 1977, and during my tenure with the Army, I was out on the road with lots of musicians and getting a little recording session and stuff like that. So I was in the Army still at the time. I remember when we were at the studio. Overdubbing, just correcting uh, some horn parts on the Survival album. Uh, Dean Fraser and them guys. Um,
No, say it out loud because you're super humble about everything, but some of the
yeah.
names that you
So
work with, you have to say them out loud so we can place you in the era in a certain setting, so people can understand the kind of moments that you were part of, I think it's so amazing. Before you do, let me just say this. Delvon is not just a musician, he's also an author. And my client, Beyond My Smile, I have spoken about the book quite a bit before. Delvon is the author of Beyond My Smile. And this is essentially your story, which is so inspiring.
I spent almost a day till daylight at the studio with some other musicians, Dean, Nambo, Chico, and all of those guys. I like being around Bob. He's a very interesting guy. And the only thing that scared me one time when we were at the studio is that the guys took a break from the studio, the musicians, and I sat at the entrance of the studio, and there's a desk where they normally have a lady working. Like if you want to go in the studio, you gotta go through her. But it was midnight, so I came out, sat on the chair. Bob came out, sat on the table, and then he called up a meeting with all the guys that meet with him, Tommy Corn and all these guys or whatever. He called up a meeting, and uh, he had a little word with them. I kind of side look at it and just take time and creep outside, So
So
that's
was he
just the
like
whole.
really, was he a disciplinarian when he came to work?
Well, he was the boss. You understand what I'm saying? Because he even mentioned, I notice everybody in here going on like there is the boss, and there's one boss and it's I, which is him. You know?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting because
But so I saw that I take my time and just scoot outside. Yeah. Yeah, other than that, I mean, it's his business, and if he's not comfortable with what's going on, he has all the rights to to call in his staff and go at them. I
yeah,
mean,
that's no, for sure.
that's normal with anybody with a business. I'm
Absolutely.
not
So he
bad
wasn't
to say. I'm not
so he
bad
wasn't
to
a
say about,
tyrant.
huh?
He wasn't a tyrant or anything like that.
No, 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 no. I'm nothing bad to say about him. Other than at one point when I was with his mother, And I said, Mom, Bob kind of had a little kind of funny attitude, you know, and sometimes you're scared to approach him.
Yeah.
And people used to come to his place. He was, I mean, feeding those people. But I mean, look at it this way: he could not feed the whole uh, all those the whole multitude coming through. I think he put a lot of pressure on himself, coming from where he's coming from and where he's been.
Yeah.
And of course, people help him, so he's about to help people too. But
Right.
the thing is, after a while, that thing gets overwhelming. Where I mean, you're not Jesus.
The time that you are talking about, how old were you and how old
I,
was Bob?
all I can tell is my age is judging from that I was in the army, and I was in I
Right.
joined the army in 1977, and 1977 I left 83. So all of this happened in between 1977 and 83, in the middle. I can't tell exactly
I
the
know, I know. Let me just
yeah.
say this. Delvon himself has gone through so many things. Like he was orphaned at a very young age. So essentially, he didn't have a family. He ended up in an orphanage. So many of the dates you only found out later, right, in life. You didn't really know the day that you were born until later, until much later. You know, you only got to know your family much, much, much later in life. So when he says this must have happened somewhere in between this and that or something else, and he's not able to give you the specific date, the age, or anything like that, it's just because some of those dates were only introduced to him much later in life. But so you must have been like 17, 18,
I
right?
joined. I joined the army at
At
17 years
16
old,
or
a little bit
17.
younger than I supposed to join. But
Yeah,
as a
that's in the book.
musician, yeah,
Yeah.
as a musician, the one of the orphanage or the home I was in, the second one was Alpha Boys School, who produced a lot of musician, and the music, ska music, came from there and all of that stuff. And there were two military bands: the regiment band, the Jamaica military band. Then you have the police force band, and most of those bands are outside Alpha Boys. The Alpha came from Alpha.
That's just crazy to me.
Yeah,
And like
yeah.
you guys were all in there. Like Yellow Man was like your brother.
Oh,
Still is.
yeah. He was like a brother to me. He still is. He texts me almost every day. Every morning I wake up to a text from him,
Yeah.
and
So
you
he
know,
got a little bit more space in your book because obviously you were super, super close.
oh
But going
yeah,
back to Bob, so what was the relationship? Because you played trumpet for him, right?
I never played with him that time. I was still out. I was still moving around with Dean Fraser, Nambo, Chico, all those horn guys, and those
Okay.
guys are the ones who got me playing. Even the first time I remember
Oh,
when musical youths came to Jamaica,
but
and
how did you end up living in the house or like working from his house, you
oh,
know?
this recent. That's recent. I was working for Royal Caribbean. This years later, years later.
Oh, so
I
Bob wasn't anymore? He
No, he
wasn't
was
around it?
long. He was gone years ago. No, this just happened while I was living in the States. This is in the
Oh,
States.
so you were
So
promoting.
okay, no. So I worked for Royal Caribbean, and then I left them. And Richie, which is Bob Marley's brother, he hired me. So and so I took care of a lot of stuff, the concerts down in me and his wife Shireen, we so I worked for him, and I handled the Bob Marley 9 Mile tour, and I sign up travel companies with them, and I do a lot of stuff.
So what did you think about the movie One Love? What did you think about it?
I think it's pretty authentic. However, there are a lot of people upset about who plays this and who played that, and that's minor
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
but I listened to a lot of the interviews, and Ziggy, he said that he picked Kingsley, who is not Jamaican, because
Right.
of the emotion that he was able to give to to the viewer, to the person who was
That's
watching
that's a
him,
that's a
because
that's a that's a good, yeah. That, well,
you
if he
know.
saw that and he felt that, then he did the right thing.
And another thing that he said was that they surrounded him, Kingsley, the main lead actor. They surrounded him with Jamaicans. So the rest of the team, like for instance, well, okay, so the one who played Rita is not really Jamaican, but her mother is Jamaican,
Right.
right? So
Well, we're talking about England, so of course, Rita was the darkest skin. Judy Mott, like about your complexion, and so is Marcia Griffiths, well, your complexion.
I can't remember. Oh my God, I can't remember the woman who played the other two in the movie. Were they dark? Did they have dark complexion?
Yeah,
Or
they're all. You gotta like. If I looked at the eye trees, I can just say, oh, that's Rita, that's Judy, and that's Marcia. But
right?
I couldn't say who was Judy, and I couldn't
Oh,
say who was Marcia Griffiths and the other two. I mean, yeah, if I was doing that, I'd find somebody that kind of portrayed
looked.
them, and more,
One thing that I really appreciate about Bob when we're talking about complexion and race and all that stuff, what's this? Let me find the quote from War.
Everywhere is war, ba 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 ba. War, we
Until,
say war
so
until
essentially, so he really, like, that's one thing that I truly believe. Like, there's just one human race, right? And there should be no distinction between black and white. I know you believe the same. Your wife is white, you are Jamaican. And when we talk, there is no color in our conversations, right? Despite the fact that you live in America. And in America, the race conversation is just like, crazy, especially when you are talking with the Black community or
yeah,
colored community.
yeah,
So
yeah, the
I love,
communities, yeah. But me, I don't say color.
and that's for me, it's like that as well. Like, I talk about it because I feel like I can contribute to the conversation. So like on YouTube, for instance, on my channel, I talk
Yeah,
about it. However, I also don't believe that color should have any significance. And that's one of the things that I really, really love about his message. There are many things that I don't like. Bob was a womanizer. So for instance, that's something that I can't ever be like, oh my God, he's amazing. No, because that's not cool as far as I'm concerned, right?
yeah,
Speaking of it, I like the fact that in this movie, Rita was the main woman who was portrayed in the movie. Obviously, I imagine it's because Ziggy, the son, was, pretty much in charge of it. So, but it was just giving her that respect as the wife of the
yeah,
man who had so many women, and so many other women were spoken about throughout his life. And when he was gone, I feel like it was really good for Rita to get that respect, to be in
yeah,
that movie, like the main
yeah.
icon.
They kept it respectful. Yeah,
Did you know Rita as well? Have you met her?
of course. I know Rita very well. She not doing too well right now, and
Is she still in Ghana? She has a place in Ghana. So that's why she's not really much. You don't see much of her in the media. That's why.
she not doing well. She wheelchair bound bad.
Ugh, that is so sad.
I was at the concert when he called up the group of people on the stage. Like he called up Bucky Marshall, which was a murderer, and Claude Massop. Those guys were political murderers, right? And I was right there on the side of the stage when Bob give his speech, give his speech, and he held Siaga and Manley. He had all their hands up like this, and the peace concert, you know. And to this day, everybody that held on up there dead. To this
So,
day, none of them
what?
alive.
So what happened after that? Was it just an empty gesture, or did it
No,
actually?
no. I think I think Bob meant. I don't think his gesture was. just
No,
was
for him,
empty.
I know Bob meant it. I know he meant it wholeheartedly. Like his
He
heart was
meant it
really,
for the people, for the
yeah,
people,
yeah.
but
But
not,
for
yeah,
the politicians,
yeah.
do you think it was just for show?
I think at the time, we can't tell it whether they mean it or not, because guess
Yeah,
what? After that, it still happened. So, you know,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. So
So I
Bob,
think that was a gesture. I don't know. You ever heard about the Green Bay killing? And they have a
no,
song about Green Bay killing, a murder. The song? Well,
maybe I'm not
well,
sure.
guess what? They get all of them politician, bad boy, murderers, right? And they trick them. The MIA trick them, military intelligence, yeah, and to meet them down at this on the beach. They went down there and they killed every one of them, including a Jamaican soccer player, Buto Thompson. He was with friends with them, so I'm sure he was involved with that. They murdered all of them, and then they got me and another set of soldiers to go down there to search for a weapon. We found out a weapon in one of the cactus down there. And you know, they plant that stuff. One little rusty revolver. They plant that stuff. And that's why the song came out, say Green Bay killing a murder, right?
Right.
Because they set those guys up and kill them, rightfully so. I would do the same thing. Because they're killing people politically, you know. So Bob,
Yeah.
the peace concert was to bring the two parties together and stop the killing. Because it turned out, I had to go on, okay, we just lost a radio announcer. And I met him at the radio station because I was stationed there to protect the media people. And I got tear gas out of some place, so like burning my, you know, and that's all political. They burn the place down, they're shooting people. Yeah.
So you were really close to that scene.
I was right on the stage. I was
Wow.
standing right there, right behind the drummer, Santa.
And but you were also like throughout that time when he was, you know, when Bob Marley was being born, like you were right there as well. So you witnessed a lot of that happening, right?
You mean when Bob Marley was born?
No, not born like as a child, but born as the singer, you know, the leader, the
Oh, yeah, yeah,
messenger. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh my God, that must have been so interesting.
yeah.
I
Because
mean,
another thing happened with one of Bob's drummer before after Carly died was Santa. And Santa was playing for, you ever heard of Peter Tosh?
yeah,
Okay, so I went to Peter Tosh house. I took some Americans who were studying Jamaica, whatever, you know. And the house was dark. About a week later, he was executed. A gunman went in and put everybody down, including the drummer Santa that's playing with Bob, and shot everybody in the head and killed. Santa wasn't dead; he played dead. The the guy Free Eye used to be on the radio. He he never died right away. He died in as with everybody else. Peter
yeah.
Tosh, his girlfriend, everybody got killed inside there.
That's just, I don't know.
You see, I was around a lot of those things because, as I say, you know, after I leave the orphanage and the army, I was living with Dean Fraser, them, all of them musicians. So we live in studios and at studios every day.
Yeah,
Musical Youth, you remember Musical Youth from England?
no. You know, I wasn't in England then, remember?
Oh yeah, they
I
sing
was
the
in
song about
Poland.
pass the Dutch it on the left hand side.
Oh yeah.
Pass the... Yeah,
That's
when they were a kid, I work with them at the studio. Yeah,
again, you have to read Beyond My Smile. It's a memoir. Delvin talks about Jamaica, living with Dean, right? Dean
Dean
Fraser,
Fraser. Yeah,
and you know, and so many other interesting stories. Like your life is like a movie script as well. You were abandoned by your father, by your family. You know, you were an orphan for all, you know, intents and purposes. And then, but you came out of it with such a positive attitude and, you know, with such a fight. It's just so beautiful to watch. Do you want to say anything else about Bob, your time knowing him? Maybe, you know, the family as well, right? Even now, you are very close with
yeah.
the family. Is there anything else that you want to say? that
Yeah, well, yeah,
important?
well, knowing Bob for so long, um, thanks to Dean, Fraser, Nambo, and all the other musicians that had me around them and all of that. But I want to say, me and Bob's mother became really, really tight. And she's the one why I had the dreadlocks. But long story short, eventually I started losing hair at the top. So I started looking like
Right,
Predator in the movie. And then I decided to cut it off. But
right. That
mom
was
was like a
recent.
mother to me also.
That was recent. When I met you, you still had dreadlocks.
Yes. Yeah.
When I met
Thanks
you,
to
you still had
Mama.
dreadlocks.
Mama Marley.
Oh my
Sibella
God.
Booker.
That's so
Sibella.
cute. So you the book cover would have looked very different. You still had dreadlocks.
Yeah. Yeah.
It would
It
have
would
been
have
very, very
been
different.
different. It would have been, yeah.
Here you look like an office guy, but I remember when I met you, you still had your dreads, and yeah, you've had such an amazing life, such an interesting life,
Yeah.
Bob was part of it, other people were part of it, it's just you had a very hard life, but then yet such an interesting, inspiring life. And that's the same thing
Yeah.
with Bob, like, he passed away too soon, right? But
Right.
other than that, he has gone through so much hardship and then came out on top. It's like the inspiration thing is just such a beautiful thing. Like that's what I love. That's why I loved the movie.
Right.
I really, really enjoyed the biopic. Um, I feel like, it's inspirational, and his message to a large extent was inspirational. Your book is inspirational. That is what I love. So I knew I was gonna enjoy the film. It's just really sad that he passed away so soon.
Yeah. And I want to say one more thing. I know a lot of people, and it's hard to keep up with all the people I know. And I just want to thank everybody that was a part of me back then for being so nice to me and being like family.
Yeah,
All these people became my family, and that's the only family I knew then.
yeah. And again, all of this, or a lot of it, can be found in the book, Beyond My Smile. So please, please support Delvon. He's a beautiful human being, and the story will not disappoint you, I promise you. Delvon, thank you so much for your time. Um,
Welcome.
it was interesting as always. And yeah, I hope you're going to come back at some point. I hope my people will enjoy this conversation just as much as I have. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks for having me.